Again, I welcome the rest of the parents that are here. We welcome you. We're just going to give a couple more minutes to allow more to come in, and then we're going to get started. I am your moderator tonight. My name is Brad Roner. I am the acting principal intern at Wooten High School. Ms. Bolden is coming back. She comes back, I think, February 1st. This is part of my intern process of learning how to be a principal. So I just wanted to again introduce myself. We are going to, the group I'm with, the alumni, are all from the University of Maryland. And in about a minute, I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves and give us a little background on their major. And then a couple things, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with one question for all of them and ask them to kind of discuss. Really the first question for us is going to just be, how did you decide on the University of Maryland? And then I'm going to pause and open up the questions to all of the participants, the panelists, or the parents, and see what direction we want to go. The goal tonight is for you to be able to ask any questions. You can use the chat, I believe, as well, if you want to type in a question, and I will keep an eye on the chat, and that way I can ask the question to the whole group. And then they can take turns, and I'll give them opportunities to share as we go on. So I think with that, I think we're gonna start with Erin. Erin's gonna introduce herself, and again, tell us her major and anything else she wants us to know as we just kind of give a brief introduction to ourselves. So Erin, thank you for being here tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin. I'm a freshman at Maryland, and I'm majoring in kinesiology on the pre-physical therapy track, and I'm also minoring in sustainability studies. I absolutely love Maryland, so much so that I actually just recently became certified to be an official tour guide of Maryland. So I definitely love talking about this school, and I'm very happy to answer any questions you may have tonight.
Thank you, Erin. And Archie, you're next.
Hey everyone, my name is Archie Dark. I'm also a freshman at the University of Maryland. I'm majoring in computer science and minoring in technology, entrepreneurship, and corporate innovation. I also am a really big fan of the University of Maryland. It offers excellent ways to grow, and I've already started my own company at the University of Maryland.
We're going to want to hear more about both of the experience you guys just told us. Next, Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly. I'm a junior at the University of Maryland with a major in elementary education. And I actually graduated from Wooten in 2019, so I just missed COVID. So it was definitely nice to have at least half a semester, before COVID hit.
Thank you, Holly. And Joseph, our last panelist.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph Yee. I'm a computer science and economics major with a minor in statistics. Yeah, that's really all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Joseph. So the first question, and I'm going to try to change the order a little bit because I don't want Erin to have to go first every single time. I'm sure she's fine with that, but we'll change the order. The very first question I'm just going to ask our panelists is, why the University of Maryland? I feel like that's going to be on the minds of everyone. And why Maryland did you pick as a start? So do I have any volunteers from the four panelists to go first? I see Archie, you unmuted already. And then Holly, I see you would like to go next. So go ahead, Archie first, and then Holly.
Yeah, so obviously, if you have any seniors here, you guys have probably completed your early action, early decision deadlines, and are wrapping stuff up with regular decisions and doing more comprehensive research into schools, and which is really all it's about, comparing the value that you're getting at one institution compared to the other. And what I saw at the University of Maryland that no other university provided was the in-state tuition price, but with a phenomenal computer science program that I wasn't really getting with any of my out-of-state schools. In addition, I took AP economics here at Wooten, and so I was business-minded. And the University of Maryland, just by virtue of being close to DC, close to Baltimore, and having those connections offers really good programs to combine CS and entrepreneurship. And so just looking at the University of Maryland, it was a no-brainer. Going here was going to work long-term, meaning I would come out with obviously less student debt, but I would also get career-ready skills that I would need to succeed in the workforce. And so that's why I chose the University of Maryland.
Thank you, Archie. Holly, do you want to go next?
So I actually, when I was deciding which university I wanted to go to, Maryland was actually not my top choice. I can't remember exactly which one was my first choice, but it wasn't my first choice. But then once I actually saw the campus and kind of saw, because I did want a big school, and it is, you know, pretty decent sized school if that's what you're looking for. But I knew that I actually did want to get out of Maryland, but I'm still in Maryland, and it is pretty nice because then, you know, Maryland is only like a 30-40 minute drive from like my house. So it's really not too bad. And like Archie was saying, you can also, the metro is very close to the University of Maryland, so you can go kind of anywhere, and especially DC. It's a really fast trip. Yeah, once I actually visited the University of Maryland and, you know, did a lot more research on the different programs that they offer, I was like really excited to come here once I decided, and then it did become my #1 school. So
Thank you, Holly. Joseph, Erin, would you like to? Erin,
I can go.
Go ahead.
So I actually kind of have a similar story to Holly where I never really had a clear #1 school. I never had that like dream school where I wanted to go. But I did know one thing, and it was that I was never in a million years going to come to Maryland. I was like, I'm going out of state, as far away as possible. And then come like April, I guess, and I still like didn't really know where I wanted to go. I narrowed down my list to just a couple schools. And I decided to like go back and like tour Maryland like one last time, even though I'd already been to the campus like countless times, just like for whatever reason. And I remember walking around McKeldin Mall, which is like the big like green space of Maryland, if you haven't been. And I just remember thinking to myself like, oh, I actually like it here. Because when I thought about it, it had like everything I wanted in a school. It was like, they have the big sports, they have the great academics, especially for my major. They have so many different ways to get involved and everything like that. Lots of school spirit. And I just think the really cool thing about Maryland is that like I know so many different people who go here and they're all so different from each other, but like absolutely everyone loves it at Maryland. Like you hardly ever meet anyone that's like, oh, I hate it here. And I really think it just shows that like it can be made your own, even if you're like me and you're like, I never want to see Wooten people again. Like it's so easy to make new friends and things like that, or keep your Wooten friends. That's also really easy to do. So you can take it whichever way you want.
Thank you, Erin. Joseph?
Well, for me, it's a little different. I really wanted to go to school in California, except California is obviously very, very expensive. And like the price wasn't worth it, at least for my family. So we landed on Maryland just because like for my major, like specifically computer science, as Archie said, it's like very competitive and also like just very good like academically. So I mainly just picked it because it was like the best economic choice, but I don't regret it at all. I made a lot of friends, and to touch on like what Erin said, I know a lot of like Wooten kids say like, "Oh, I don't want to see people from high school." Like that's like the most fake thing in the world. Like you'll see them in like the very first week when like people are going out and like doing a lot of stuff, but like outside of that, like I personally have not had any. Like I don't interact with many Wooten people in my classes, at least.
Thank you, Joseph. Parents out there, do you have any specific questions you would like to ask at this time? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute. I'm an educator, so I give effective wait time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good, good. So I have a quick question for probably all of them, but especially for those majoring in computer science. So for students, I assume that both of them were in the IoT program at Wooten, and if so, how does the program prepare them, like, you know, to their computer science program at Maryland. I see my daughter is in that program, working day and night, so rigorous and so difficult. So how does that prepare them to computer science at Maryland? Just if they can comment on that on general aspects. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, tying in the Wooten experience to here. And I have Archie raising his hand, ready to answer. Go, Archie.
Yeah, so AOIT, obviously the Academy of Information Technology, and through its 3 pathways, software development, networking, and web development, along with its emphasis on an internship that's required between, I think, summer between junior and senior, itself prepares you for an outstanding college experience, because once you get into college, especially as a computer science major, you're always looking for that next internship, the next on-campus job. And so AOIT instilled in me were the outreach skills that you would need at the university, like not being afraid to email employers saying, hey, I just saw applications closed. Can I still apply? Are you still accepting a resume? And so AOIT does a great job preparing you professionally, which is what college is about. And luckily through the AOIT program, I landed a software engineer job on campus in the Clark Engineering School. And so I am very thankful for the skills that AOIT gave me. And also AOIT is like a phenomenal hub for like student organizations dedicated to tech. Like student organizations by far will let you learn the most.
I'm glad we are recording that, Archie, because that is a good video that we might have to tap you up later to get more students involved with it. So thank you. And then Joseph, you would like to comment, so go.
Oh, well, I'm a computer science major and I wasn't actually part of AOIT. I was actually part of STARS. But like personally, I don't think like it's like affected me. I'm doing pretty well in my classes, and I don't think it's like too difficult. I think like I can't really speak on AOIT as a whole, but I would say like the programming professor at Wooten, like Mr. Turner, he's definitely like the best professor. Like I think this can also apply to like most of the Wooten teachers. They're a lot better than most college professors. So I definitely say like take advantage of that. And then also like I don't know, like of course like I'm gonna play like kind of devil's advocate, but like a lot of my friends who are in AOIT did say it was kind of like a waste of time. So like don't feel too pressured if you're not in AOIT, like if you're missing something out.
Well, I think that's a good balance to 2 approaches of 2 programs. And I thank you for your honesty for both perspectives. I want to tie that in a little further and open up to Erin and Holly and just kind of tie in again, what experience did you have at Wooten that allowed you to get to your major, and just talk about maybe some of the experience you had that prepared you for what you're doing today at the University of Maryland. So Erin, Holly, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, so one of the things I definitely recommend the AP Lang and AP Lit. Those definitely helped prepare me because when I got to college, I was actually surprised at how many people do not know how to write. It's actually very surprising. I think my last year I was proofreading somebody's essay and I was just shocked. I really was. I didn't understand how she had gotten into college because like her writing was kind of bad. So I really think Wooten had a significant impact on how I write and really helped me to write better. And I think like it shows in how I write in college now. So
Erin, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I was also gonna say AP Lit and Lang were definitely like super helpful for me. Like I remember my first day of my kines class, it was like a history kines class. So we did lots of papers and my professor gave us an article in the New York Times saying, don't be surprised if you don't know how to write when you get to college. And I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail all my papers. But then I realized as I was writing these, I was like, this is exactly like Lang and Lit. Like Wooten prepared me really well to know how to write these papers and get good grades on them. And going off of that, I personally didn't do AP research and seminar, but I know a lot of my friends did. And they all said that that was like one of the most helpful classes they've ever taken. Just because when you get to college, personally, you are writing a lot more papers than I would have expected. So I think it's definitely helpful with those skills. But also I would say it was beneficial for me to take classes at Wooten that you're interested in. Like I know I took like anatomy and nutrition just because they were like interesting to me rather than doing like AP bio just because like it looked better on a college transcript. And those have been like helpful to me in my classes now. So definitely like look at the catalog and like if there's a class that you're interested in, like definitely just take it.
That is great. Great viewpoints from all of you. And I just want to bring it back also to Joseph, who complimented that Wooten teachers were better than college professors. I'm going to hold on to that one, and I might have to use that to wish our staff members a happy winter break and throw that in there as I heard that. Another question we wanted to, we got a question from the group. One of the parents is asking just to maybe talk a little bit about your specific admission process work. Maybe like how did you go through that admission process and maybe some of the challenge you saw going through that. So do any of my panelists, you don't all have to mention it, but you could talk about. Joseph, go.
Well, I'll just speak on mine. Specifically like for my major, I applied for computer science. So obviously like University of Maryland is known for the computer science and they're ranked like pretty high academically. So I personally like didn't apply to like a very good quality, like a very high tier school if it wasn't like worth it financially for like for the major that I was applying, because I think that is like really important. I think a lot of kids get caught up in like just like the name of the college. Like for example, like UPenn, I think engineering is like not very good. It's like the school itself is very good, but I think the engineering is only like ranked 20th or something, while like Maryland is like, I think top 15, top 10. So obviously like it doesn't make sense for me to apply to a school that's going to be more expensive and not give me as a quality of education. So that was really like my biggest indicator for schools.
All right. Anyone else from the panels just want to talk about like their experience? What did they have to do to get to the admission process maybe, and the steps they had to take?
Yeah, I can add something. So I had to apply to the College of Education May of last year, so my sophomore year. And I would definitely just recommend, even if you don't know like what major you want to do, which is totally fine, because I think I came in undecided as well. That is totally fine if you don't know yet. But I definitely would recommend like going through the schools at the University of Maryland and just seeing like what you need to apply. Because like for me personally, I had to do like a 2-page kind of essay style, like kind of why I wanted to be a teacher and be in the College of Education. I had to provide a resume, and there was something else that I also had to provide, and obviously like you have to keep a certain GPA. So I definitely just go through. It should be on the UMD page with your whatever major you're interested in and looking at that school and their requirements to get into that school.
Thank you, Holly. Archie or Erin, did you want to comment on that? Your process or experience?
Just from like a tour guide perspective, I did want to mention, I believe Maryland is test optional through 2023. I guess if a lot of senior parents are on here, people probably already applied. But also if you applied by the November 1st deadline, you don't have to worry about like doing extra applications for like scholarships and like living learning communities and things like that. You just kind of automatically get screened for that if you applied by the early action deadline, which is really nice. So then in your admission letter, you'll be noted like any scholarships you receive, like if you're in like honors, scholars, fire, whatever it is. But yeah.
To quickly add on to that, make sure you read your admission letter very, very, very carefully, because you can be rejected fall semester and put on the fall wait list and be accepted spring semester and still take classes in the fall. And so the university has this program called Freshman Connection, that if you are rejected your fall semester and you're accepted spring, that you can still take up to 15 credits or so of fall classes. Now, granted, these are a select portion of classes that you can that you wouldn't be able to take if you're a regular student, but just knowing that University of Maryland may still be an option if you're rejected from the fall is very important to know.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Holly, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to like quickly add, I actually did go through Freshman Connection. So basically what that means is you can live on campus, you're basically a full student. The only difference between you and a normal fully admitted student is that you don't have classes until after 3 p.m. Which, you know, you can have the later classes. I think I had like my latest class was 7:30 to 8:45, which kind of sucked. But really that's the only difference, and you're in all classes with other Freshman Connection students. So you're not with like upperclassmen or anything. So it's all freshmen in your classes, which is kind of nice, and you get to meet people in your grade. So
Thank you both for sharing that. Other questions that parents may have? Again, you can unmute or you can put something in the chat.
Can I have another question?
Yeah, please, sir, go.
This is for all of the panelists. It's really good. You guys give us really amazing insight. We really appreciate honest and helpful. I appreciate that. The question I have is that please tell us a little bit about the transition from whether it's Wooten or any other high school. You know, as parents, we are always worried about our kids, right? Transitioning into that dependent process of higher education. So can you tell us a little bit about that? What was the transition and how difficult it is, and any tips? Thank you.
Great question. Just tips that you would give to parents about transitioning from high school to college. Who would like to go first? Holly, go.
So I actually love this question just because I'm the oldest. So the college experience was a whole new thing to me and my family. So when I was applying and, you know, my first couple days at the University of Maryland, I was so scared. I was so nervous. I was freaking out. But once you go through, like, you're going to be nervous the first day. That's just going to happen. But once you go through like the first couple days, it really is just like high school. You know, they go through the syllabus and stuff. And transition wise, like, you do have a lot more time because, you know, in high school, you're in school from 7:30 to like 2:30. And then, you know, if you've got sports practices, and then it's dinner time and then homework, and then you're done. But in college, you have a lot more time on your hands because you really you might take like 3 classes a day. So it's really important to just like spread out your time and manage your time wisely. What really helps me to keep organized is to write like due dates down in calendars. I think like 3 different calendars, like on my computer, a physical one, and like a whiteboard one as well. So that's really helpful to me to stay organized, to stay on top of all my assignments, and, you know, set those reminders. So it's just really important, I think, in the beginning to figure out what works best, because obviously each student is different in terms of their management skills. So, you know, I'm sure a lot of them already have good management skills in high school and know what works best for them. And I think just like using that and trying, you know, to see what else works to help them manage their time is definitely very important.
Great. Thank you, Holly, for that. Another panelist want to just talk about the transition? Yeah, Joseph, go ahead.
I'll just speak on like parents being worried. I can definitely speak on that. Like, my dad loves to worry about things that like are very like far-fetched. As far as like, I promise you, your child will make friends. One reassuring thing is like, you might be like worried, like, oh, like, how are they gonna do? It's like reassuring to know that every kid basically is going into college for like the first time, especially if they're a freshman. So it's not something to like really be too worried about. Your kid's gonna be like just fine. They aren't gonna like die or anything. Like they'll be just fine. They'll definitely like make mistakes, but I think that's part of like college. Like everyone, you learn how to make mistakes. I think the transition is definitely it's not like too different from high school. Like Holly said, like you go to your classes, you come back. You definitely have a lot more free time. And like you live with all of your friends. So it's like it's a lot, in a way, it's like a lot more fun than high school. But I'd say like just overall, it's pretty similar.
Thank you, Joseph. Erin, Archie, go ahead. You unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on to the transition aspect, but towards the completion of your transition, obviously get to know your roommates. I mean, they're really your first friend group on college campus. Learn what do they want to do, what do you want to do. In the beginning, I used to work for UMD Res Life, and so what we used to make freshmen do is like sign a contract with your roommates, like, oh, lights out by 8 p.m., no loud noises before this. And so really just getting to know the dynamics between your roommates and not being afraid to venture out will serve for a very, very, very successful transition. And also don't be afraid to talk to your college professors. They're some of the nicest people I've met and gotten to know.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And Holly just put in, definitely joining a club or a sport is also really a great way to meet new people and find things you like. Thank you, Holly. Erin, go.
Yes, I was just gonna say that actually. I know Joseph was saying like, don't worry, like you're gonna find friends, and you definitely will. And I think there's also a lot of pressure, like, oh, like everyone has to be best friends with their hallmates. Like I'm friends with people on my floor, but a lot of my friends are in other residence halls too. So like I would say the number one advice that I would give to like make a smooth transition is to just get involved in like as many things as possible, and then kind of weed out what you're not as interested in, like as the semester goes on. Cause like I know I signed up for like a million things and I'm only like involved in a few of them now, but like I've met so many friends through just like all the different like clubs I'm in from my different classes and things like that. And I think just like having people that you feel comfortable with and just like having good friends that you make has like made the transition so much easier. And the people are like such a big part of your experience at Maryland. So just like get involved and it makes it so much better.
Thank you, Erin, for that. That was a great question from the parent. Appreciate that. We had another question in the chat, and the question was, how did you decide like what classes to choose from first semester? Was there a guide from the school, and then also how did you choose for second semester if that process was a little different? So whoever would like to go first on that one about choosing courses for your first semester and then maybe next semester. Erin, go ahead.
I can talk about that. Yeah. So orientation was all virtual this year, but the way it works for freshmen is that you will go to orientation and then you'll meet with your academic advisor and they will guide you through classes. It kind of depends on your major for like how much or how specific they're going to be. But like, I know for kinesiology, they were like, sign up for this kines class. I would recommend you take this gen ed and then like this scholars class and things like that. Which was really nice because I know going into that, I was so stressed. I was like, how do I know what to sign up for? And then it was also really nice about that is that I then had friends that were in like 3 of my kines classes that I'm friends with now. So it's like not only a great way to meet people, but they definitely like guide you through that process. And you do actually have to make like a 4-year plan, which is really helpful because like I know signing up for like this semester, I had the same panic where I was like, oh gosh, how do I know what to sign up for? And one, there's always your advisors available to make appointments, which are super helpful, but also just like looking at your 4-year plan can be a really easy way to just be like, oh, I should just sign up for this classes.
Anyone else want to chime in just about their experience? Yeah, Joseph, go.
Well, at least like I'd say for the most part, like your advisor, like Erin said, at orientation, they basically like have like a sample 4-year plan that they kind of like auto-generated. Like they take in like all the AP credits that you came in with, and then they're like, oh, you already have credit for like maybe like Calc 1. Oh, you're supposed to take Calc 2 now. It's like, I'd say like the first like semester, definitely like they really hold your hand. So it's not that difficult, but definitely like I wouldn't say I had too much freedom this semester. You get a lot more freedom like as your like mandatory like intro level classes like start, you get finished with those, and then you get into like your higher level stuff.
And
Go ahead, Ollie.
I just want to add, I think most majors you will have an advisor. And with mine personally, we had to meet, it was like required before we registered for our classes to meet with your advisor. And there is the 4-year plan, like everyone else was saying. And my advisor would also print out like a individual thing too, you know, like literally list out the classes per semester, which was really helpful. So your advisors are an amazing resource. They will definitely help you decide, you know, which classes to take, and they will be there for you as a resource. So.
Oh, thank you, Holly. And Archie, you put in an example. So talk to us about that example, because that one's specific to computer science. So please.
Yeah, so the format of the document is pretty intuitive. On the left, you have all your fall semesters. On your right, you have all your spring semester. And so it'll contain all of the gen eds that you need as part of your gateway requirements. Let's say you want to apply into computer science once you're at the University of Maryland. And after you're in computer science, what other general education requirements do you need to satisfy your degree? And so you'll see like DSHS is your history gen ed. And so you'll be able to say, okay, these AP classes that I took here at Wooten, for example, AP economics, will satisfy your history gen ed. And like, oh, I don't need to take that. I can slide something forward. And so I'm not sure whether all UMD departments have that kind of document, but if you're specifically looking for computer science in an easy location where all the information is shared, then obviously the link is in the chat. And I highly encourage you to download it and save it somewhere, just so you're more informed come future semesters.
Thank you all. Those were wonderful responses. I'm sure it's bringing back memories to some of us about our own colleges experience and courses we took so many years ago. The next question we have for you guys is actually thinking ahead. Is there opportunities that you know or you plan to maybe study abroad? Has that come up in your 4-year plan, or just ideas that you may have between now and when you graduate? Anyone want to share anything, their thoughts about studying abroad?
I'm actually not sure exactly what UMD's policy right now is with COVID and everything. I know I'm planning on studying abroad. Maryland is really nice in that they're very flexible with the different programs. Like you can study abroad in something that has like nothing to do with your major and it just counts as an elective, which is really nice. Or you could do something that does count with your major. And we have programs that are like 2 weeks over the winter, 2 weeks over the summer, a full semester for fall or spring, or even like a full year if you want. So there's definitely tons of opportunities. I know if you go, I don't know the exact like website like link, but if you just like look up like UMD study abroad, there's like a different like search bar, and you can like categorize it by like where you want to go, what you want to study, what term, and there's tons of different programs. But I believe people are able to study abroad, but I'm not exactly sure with COVID and everything, but there's definitely tons of opportunities, and you can get like elective credits or course credits for it.
Thank you, Erin, for that. Erin, you bring up a great topic too that I'm sure we were going to get to no matter what tonight, is just the COVID experiences at the University of Maryland, and maybe just not about of like, you know, some guidance that they gave you before you came there, maybe vaccination policies or testing policies, or kind of any experiences that you had with COVID to keep you safe. Anyone want to maybe talk about that on my group here? Joseph, you are smiling, ready to go. Let's hear from you.
This is actually kind of funny because I tested positive on Friday. Yeah, last Friday. So yeah, I'm actually like stuck in my room as we speak. I actually got it from my RA, who's like the person who's supposed to like make sure that you don't get COVID. But I'd say like overall, if I made it through an entire semester, you know, like except for like the last couple days, I'd say like UMD is pretty like they want you to be safe. Like I think like on Wednesday, like last Wednesday, like we had a huge spike in cases, and they basically like encouraged all professors to like go online and like no longer like there's a lot of testing. Testing is like pretty easy. I like just walk in, you get a test done. But I would say like definitely get vaccinated because it does make your life easier. And not only that, it also makes like everyone else safer. But overall, like just the COVID like protocols are pretty good, I'd say.
Joseph, I think we need to pause and just say I'm so sorry you have COVID, and I'm glad you're
No,
here.
don't worry
And
about it.
I'm sure
I don't have any symptoms, so it's like
okay. I'm sure this is keeping your mind off of a little bit, so I appreciate you still coming here and talking to us. So I just needed to pause to tell you that. I'm glad you're with us. All right. Holly, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add, I know that, you know, there was a vaccine mandate, but you could also do, I think like a religious exemption or medical exemption. And so anybody that is not vaccinated on campus, they do have to get tested twice a week. And so there's that to also be more cautious too.
Thank you for sharing that. Archie, Erin, go ahead.
Oh, I was also just gonna say Maryland has a ton of resources, like if you need. Like I know this was mentioned before, but like my roommate also happened to test positive right before we went home. And so I was like scrambling to find a test, but it was super easy to go. Like our student union center has PCR tests like almost every single day of the week. And I got my results like within 24 hours. I am negative. But like they have that. They have like tents outside where you can do rapid tests if you're symptomatic. They like have front desks handing out KN95 masks. So it's definitely like they have been catering to our needs, and I think they've been dealing with it pretty well. Like I know like freshman year experience hasn't really been, I mean, hindered to a certain extent, but like I've still had a great time this year.
Thank you for sharing. Archie, go ahead.
And to wrap it all off, due to the recent spike in cases, University of Maryland took extra precaution with regards to dining. So usually, you know, you scan your hand over the scanner and you eat in the dining halls, but they had to-go boxes where you filled up them with the food that you wanted and then went back to your room and ate. And so they're always on their heels, making sure that you're not only safe, but people aren't clustering together when they're not supposed to be.
Thank you for that. Thank you guys all for, again, sharing about those experiences. Any other questions from the parents? I'm gonna pause for a few seconds here. All right, Mr. Hitch. Oh, I saw a parent unmute. Go ahead.
I want to ask. I know you all attend University of Maryland. My question is, have you been applied for other colleges, and what is the main reason that you make decision to go to University of Maryland instead of the other colleges that you accepted but decide not to go?
All right, that's a great question. So why University of Maryland, panelists? Why Maryland? Go ahead. Who's going first? All right, Archie, then Holly, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get really specific and compare college to college this time. So I also applied to RIT, the Rochester Institute of Technology. It's in New York, and I was awarded the presidential scholarship for that institution, meaning it was almost the equivalent of a full ride. And so even with that, you've got to then compare curriculum to curriculum. So what I saw was that RIT embedded co-ops and internships within your studies, which is phenomenal. I think it's a great learning experience getting to work for an actual employer. You build a resume while you're in school. It's always a good thing. But when I looked at University of Maryland's computer science curriculum, they had a more practical, hands-on approach and really flexible options with regards to exemption exams and just taking higher level classes if you want to. And so that's just, you know, a brief RIT to UMD and why I chose UMD comparison.
Thank you. Holly, did you want to go ahead and, yeah, please.
Yeah, so I applied to, I think, a total of 6 schools. So that's like average amount, I think, is what most people apply. And Maryland actually wasn't my first choice. I didn't really have a top choice. I just kind of had like the 6 that I was interested in. But then once I started like touring and doing more research on the school, and it's also close to like a lot of things, like I said before, like the metro, you can get easy access anywhere, especially to DC, which is really nice for like weekend trips and stuff. So yeah, it wasn't my first choice, but again, after doing all that research, like I really came to fall in love with the campus. And now that I'm in my junior year, I'm actually very sad that I'm more than halfway done with my college career right now. So
Thank you for that. Aaron Joseph, did you want to comment on that? I know we talked about this a little in the beginning, just like why Maryland, why, you know.
Yeah, I would say like kind of similar to Holly again. Like I applied to a ton of schools because I really had no idea where I wanted to go. But in the end, like Maryland had everything I wanted. And like, yeah, there were a couple other schools that had like almost everything I wanted to. But when it came down to it, like obviously Maryland being in state too, plus having everything I wanted kind of like made it worth it for me. And I feel like I know a lot of people who were like not thrilled about going to Maryland. We're very much like, oh, like I'm just going here like for because my parents wanted to, like whatever reason it was. But everyone I know, like I said earlier, like I don't know anyone who like hates it or anyone who's like not happy. Like literally, no matter what your reason was for going to Maryland, I think it's like in the end, it just works out for everyone because it's such a big school. There's so many different people and so many opportunities that like everyone just ends up loving it.
Thank you, Aaron. Joseph, did you want to go or we can keep going? Good. Okay. Another question, thank you guys for all of those responses. Another question a parent had was just about how do you see the classes you take in connection with preparing you for a career once you graduate? And Archie, I'm gonna actually put you on the spot because you talked about how you are running your own business a little bit already, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you see the connection between your school and your classes and preparing you for that career once you leave.
Of course. Okay. So obviously there is a very standard approach, major, minor. Major is what I want to focus on. Mostly minor is, it could either be a backup, it could either be a supplement, whatever. And so obviously in my case, majoring in computer science, minoring in technology, entrepreneurship, and corporate innovation. And so what the major minor combination allows you to do is that some of your minor classes will be geared specifically towards computer science. And so basically this semester, I took an entrepreneurship course called Discovering New Ventures, where we looked at case studies of technology ventures and how they came to being successful brands. For example, did you know that Squarespace's founder is a University of Maryland alum himself? And so by really taking classes that mesh together instead of being really separate or parallel, really provides the understanding and the interdisciplinary mindset that a career demands. Because when you're, because for example, when I started my company, we're called UMD CreateX. And basically, you know, there's like DECA, FBLA that operate at the high school level, trying to inspire business-minded opportunities in high schoolers and middle schoolers. We try to do the same thing at the collegiate level, but we not only take you in as a non-entrepreneur and give you the basic skill sets that you need to become an entrepreneur, but at the end of the program, you're able to pitch to our panel, which is 4 faculty members 3 officers in my company to gain funding for your idea. And so what the technology entrepreneurship class taught me was that if you could propose value and deliver it via technology, you could be very successful in the 21st century marketplace. And we're doing pretty good so far. So I think it's a really good indication that University of Maryland does prepare you for a career after your 4 years.
Thank you, Archie. Anyone else want to just mention about how they see their major or their experiences preparing them for their career when they graduate? Holly, I know you're a junior, so I'm sure maybe an internship is coming up or some kind of career. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so when you first get started, you're doing like a lot of gen ed classes, and then it starts to narrow more towards your major and what you want to do. And next semester, actually, I will be going, since I'm an elementary education major, I will be going to a school from, I think, like a whole day, and basically being like a student aide. So typically, I think for a lot of majors, junior year, around that time is when you will start doing more like hands-on internship experiences, and really like getting like that experience. Like this semester, I was able to go to a school and we did tutoring for the kids. So, you know, again, each major is different, but I'm sure there's, you know, different things that kind of gradually put you into the actual experience in working with, you know, things related to your major, which I think is really helpful.
Thank you, Holly. Erin, Joseph, did you want to? Yep, Joseph, go ahead, and then Erin, sorry.
Well, I definitely say like a lot of my CS classes are definitely helping me. We just like, I think specifically for something like anything STEM oriented, they just like teach you some of like the stuff that they use in the real world. Like for example, like before school started, I had an internship where like we used a programming like data structure, and I had never like heard of it, and then I learned about it in school. So if the order was reversed, obviously like just like the knowledge that you gain in school is definitely helpful for like the real world. Just like it teaches you like specifically for CS, like any like type of like algorithm or like data structure, stuff like that. It's just like helpful to learn.
Thank you, Joseph. Erin, go ahead.
I also just want to jump in and say that there's just like so many opportunities, no matter like what your major is or what year you are. Like I have an internship like through University of Maryland with like the sports medicine field, and it's like I'm a freshman and I like got an internship, which is really cool. I know people who are like doing research with different professors. So there's so many different opportunities, and a lot of them are like hands-on, very like student oriented, which is really nice because they're like real life skills that you can then like use for your jobs in the future and stuff.
Thank you, Erin. Last year, I was with Mr. Hitchens, and he asked the panel the coolest question. Well, I thought it was the coolest question. He said to the panelists, and I'm gonna let you guys think about this for a second. If you could go back like 4 years ago to like your sophomore year or maybe your junior year, or whatever year you want to look at, and do something different to prepare yourself to where you are now, and I'm trying to connect it back to Woon, what would you have done differently, maybe with coursework or getting involved with something that would have, from your perspective, would have helped you even more to where you are? So does anyone want to, it's really what I'm asking you is, what advice would you give yourself 4 years ago to where you are today? Joseph, you were first, so you were ready to go. Go ahead.
I think at least for me, it's like really easy. I'm very like STEM oriented, and like my classes reflected that in high school. So like I came in with most of my like math and science gen eds completed. But like as of right now, like I don't have a single humanities gen ed. And I obviously like don't like that. And I would have much preferred to have taken like maybe like a push in high school and like struggled a little bit with my friends, rather than like taking in a college class where like I might not like the professor, or like just like a lot of like other determining factors. Of course, like there's other classes that are like more might be more interesting, but I think if I'd been able to like get that kind of out of the way, It definitely like alleviates a lot of like strain on your schedule, just because like you're not as concerned with like fitting gen eds in. But yeah.
Thank you for that. And for those parents, a push is AP US history. Just want to, and that's good. I like that. So other panels, what advice pretty much would you give yourself if you could change some things? Holly, go ahead.
I definitely wish I would have taken, I think we have like a personal finance class. Because I mean, I was okay at managing my money in high school, but in college, you know, you're on your own, and I have my own apartment now, so I've got to like do grocery shopping like twice or every 2 weeks, and you know, you got to get your essential stuff, your notebooks and all that stuff, and obviously you want to go out to dinner and, you know, do all these fun things. So I wish I had taken that, because I think that would have helped me to really manage my money a bit more than I am right now.
An experience of just like you're on your own, really managing money and doing those kind of. So yes, we do have a class called personal finance. It's a semester. It's offered to, I believe, 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders as an elective course. Erin, go ahead.
I would say just in general, don't be so hard on yourself. I know I was very much I would be so caught up in like, oh, this one test, this one grade for this one quarter, like very much in my head about like all these different grades, numbers, ACT scores, all this stuff. And like, well, yes, that is like a kind of a big part in applications and like for colleges and stuff. Like in the end, like you're gonna end up somewhere and you're gonna have like an entirely different experience. Like your whole life isn't going to be isn't going to be determined by like one grade in one class in high school. And I think just like learning that as a high schooler would be very helpful, because it's like it's just overall better for your mental health, if I'm being honest too. So just like taking that lesson into college, like you don't need to put like so much pressure on yourself where you're like mentally unwell, because it can like not be great. So take it one step at a time.
I like that balancing and one day, one step at a time. I love that. Archie, go ahead. What advice would you give yourself if you could go back in a little bit and tell yourself to do something a little different? What would it be?
I think I would give myself the advice of hone or learn lifelong skills in high school. And what I mean by that is learning how to fail, learning how to deal with stress, learning how to push yourself, learning how to mitigate risk. Because when you start a club in high school, it's just you and a bunch of friends who have the same idea. If it fails, it fails. Nothing ever happens. But when I took over a state organization as state president here at UMD, there's a lot of risk that comes along with it. And if you don't develop that tolerance for risk or learn how stuff like this happens in high school, you're neither there or here. And so just being explorative. I'm computer science and economics. In high school, I took theater classes. I took stage design in particular, because that was something that I was really interested in. Also, just like how Holly mentioned, take personal finance. Mr. Thompson is a really great teacher to teach that. And so what I'm most thankful, advice that I could give myself is taking those classes, because sooner or later you'll be patting yourself on the back saying, thank you for taking that.
It was great, guys. That was again, Mr. Hitchens asked that question. I just thought it was the coolest thing to go back. We did have another question from the parents here. Is just from your perspectives of just when did you know and decide that you were going to major what you were majoring in? And did you know back in high school? Is it something you decided that between senior year and going to college? So talk to us about that, when you, or maybe you knew in elementary school what you were going to do. So who would like to go first on that one? Go ahead, Holly. Absolutely.
So I actually didn't really know what I wanted to do. I kept trying to, evaluate myself and figure out the different things that I like to do, but I just couldn't like figure it out. And then I did an internship my senior year of high school at Lakewood Elementary School, and I realized that I loved working with the kids. It was so much fun for me, and so then I think from that point on, I realized that I did want to do elementary education, and I was still undecided when I first came into Maryland, which is totally okay. You have some time to figure it out. You don't have to go right into a major. And then I think it was either my second semester of freshman year or my first semester of sophomore year that I started to move more towards the education classes and how to apply to the actual education, College of Education. So.
Thank you for that, Holly. Anyone else? Yeah, Erin, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I'm kinesiology and I'm on the pre-physical therapy track. I kind of like, I would say like senior year of I would say junior year of high school, I knew that I was interested in fitness and nutrition and wanted to do something like in that field. And then like Holly, I also did an internship senior year at a PT clinic and I loved it. And so it kind of made sense, like if I wanted to be pre-PT to go kinesiology, but I will say, at the beginning of the year, I took like an intro to kines class this semester. And one of the things they talked about was all the different career paths you could have as a kinesiology major. And I had this like whole freak out where I was like, oh, I want to be pre-med actually and become a doctor. And I like called my advisor in this panic and was like, oh my gosh, like I want to change my entire career path, like all this stuff. And I was freaking out. And my advisor told me, I mean, well, I'm still pre-PT, but because I decided against it. But my advisor told me if I wanted to go pre-med, I wouldn't even need to decide that until like latest sophomore year. And so it's like, even for like something like that, like it seems like going like pre-med is like a big change, but it's like even for a big change, like you have time to decide. You don't need to be super caught up in that. Like, and like Holly said, like I know friends who are like undecided and still figuring it out, and that's like totally fine. But yeah.
Thank you, Erin. Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah. So originally I came in as computer engineering, but now I'm swapping to CS plus econ. I like on at least for me, for like picking my major, computer engineering, I literally like on my Common App, I just searched a computer because I wanted to do comp sci originally. But then I think I accidentally compressed the engineering because it comes first alphabetically. So I accidentally clicked that. But I don't really like regret it, to be honest. Like I think my intro engineering class that I took this year was like pretty interesting. But I did want to switch. As far as like econ's concerned, I just like thought I wanted to do something extra just because of like the amount of credits I came in with. So I landed on econ. I just thought it was like kind of interesting. And then I just like looked around and I found that like, oh, it is like possible. So I'd also like to add on to Aaron said, like I literally did this like randomly out of the blue. I decided on CS plus econ like I think like at like 4 a.m. one day with like my friends. So really like you really do have like a lot of time to figure it out. Like and sometimes it just like comes randomly.
Thank you, Joseph, for your honesty once again. I love it. And then go ahead, Archie.
So obviously I do promote experimentation and exploring your interests throughout high school. Ironically, my interests were already set out for me. So obviously I was a part of AOIT 9th through 12th, which was kind of like, okay, computer science. However, I think one thing that's not discussed is that your understanding of the discipline changes throughout time. So my original plan with computer science was just to learn a crap ton of programming languages and become that stereotypical geek that could code whatever you wanted him to code. But then I realized that the picture was a lot bigger, and so I looked at architecture and like how servers communicate with each other. And in high school itself, I became Azure 900 certified throughout my exploration of that topic. And then through that certification in cloud technology, you learn business concepts. And that's where I found my sweet spot, that computer science, but delivered in a cost-effective, insanely valuable way was where I wanted to be. And so again, just be explorative. Your understanding of the discipline will change, which is perfectly fine. And as everyone else has said, you have tremendous number of times to change your majors. I only added my minor in technology entrepreneurship a month ago. So yeah.
Thank you guys for that. Go ahead, Erin.
Sorry, I also just want to say quickly, it's really easy to change your major, like people were saying, but it's also like if you discover that there's something else that you're also really interested in, like it's really easy to add a major, add a minor. Like I have multiple friends who have added a major just within their freshman year because they like even just taking their intro classes, they're like, oh, this also sounds really interesting. And like I have the room for it in my schedule. Like I added my minor really easily. So Maryland makes it like very like built for you, and they're very flexible with it, which is really nice.
Another question that we've seen in the past is just what advice would you give the parents as they're starting to support their own kids about the process of college admissions and University of Maryland? Is there anything you would give advice to the parents? Archie, do you want to go first, or you're still unmuted from last? Go ahead. Okay.
I mean, no, I think what Joseph said was a very powerful premise. Mistakes are going to be made. That's part of the learning process. And I 100% stand behind that. But, you know, as decision letters are coming in, as you're getting the usernames and passwords to your application portals, where your decision will be located in, you know, just again, take a second look at the college's curriculum, take a look at the financials. What they say is your full year price isn't going to be your full year price because you have to factor in things like transportation, eating out, emergency scenarios like you getting sick, a visit to the doctors. And so getting all those data points. So when you come to make that decision, I forgot the date. Is it like May 1st, March 1st, somewhere around there? That this is in your best interest. And obviously, whether it's the University of Maryland or an out-of-state school, doing as much research, starting early on the transition process. University of Maryland has a phenomenal program called Tert Visit Day. It's like orientation, but it's in person. So they'll pair you a small group up with a tour guide, and you'll walk from building to building. You'll see a sample dorm. You'll see a sample classroom. You'll engage with activities among your peers. We had Jeopardy among Tert Visit Days, just recapping what we had learned throughout the day. And getting all your ducks in a row, just in general, is pretty helpful.
Oh, thank you for that. Anyone else want to comment on that? Yeah, Joseph, go ahead.
I think a big thing for like parents to understand, especially like from this area because it's so competitive. Your kid is going to college, not you. So like as much as you might want your kid to go to like a super fancy Ivy League, ultimately it is them, like it's their education and like they have to care about it. And like obviously it's great if every kid goes to Harvard. But like not every kid, like it's not, Harvard isn't meant for every kid. So like make sure that like you're just like supportive of like any decision that your child makes. And I guess like students, just like make sure you're making your decision, like what's best for you. Because ultimately like those 4 years is like you're gonna be there. Your parents aren't really gonna be there to like hold your hand. So make sure like you're making that decision like organically for yourself, and that it's something that like you're going to be happy with for like the next 4 years.
All right, well said, Joseph. Thank you. Erin or Holly? Go ahead, Erin.
I don't know if this would apply to everyone, but for me, like one of the biggest things was like I mentioned, was very stressed for like the entire month of April. Like, where do I want to go to school? And so I think it was really helpful for me just to have someone to like vent to, because I just needed to like spill out all my thoughts of like, oh, but this school is this and Maryland is this. So it was kind of helpful to just like have someone to talk to. And so just like being there for them and just like listening to their thought process and not necessarily like like Joseph said, like not putting like your thoughts into them. Like, yes, like I really value my parents' opinion, but like me coming to the decision that I wanted to go to Maryland felt so much better than like if they were like, Erin, like you are going to Maryland. So then like I know it's different in every scenario, but I think just like having that like person to talk to about everything was just like very helpful for me.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you. Holly, did you want to comment?
Yeah, kind of going off of both of what Joseph and Erin said. You know, you're 18 and you're making this huge decision that's going to impact, you know, the rest of your career. So just supporting them as much as you can, which I'm sure, you know, your parents, you're going to do that anyways. But I think what helped me kind of think through which school I really wanted to go to and which one was best for me. I did a pro and con list. I know it's like old school, but I did a pro and con list of each of my schools, and just kind of to have that visual list of each of the positives and negatives of the school really helped to narrow down my decision.
Thank you. Thank you. We have one more question here, and this is really just about like how much time did you spend that senior year kind of applying to college applications, you know, how many like hours during the week, like how long did it take you to do some of these? I don't know if you guys remember, but maybe just in general, what do you remember from that process, that time period when you were applying to all these places? Who would like to share?
I can speak on this. So I think it's definitely, I took like definitely the weekends, I would say, is beneficial to work on that stuff. I think like during the week, I would also try to get some of the college applications done. I tried to get it all done before Halloween of my senior year, just because I was doing a lot of the early actions and whatnot. But I think in terms of like actual hours, I tried to do at least 2 hours ish. You know, whether it be like once or twice during the week, and then like maybe more hours during the weekend when I had a little bit more time.
Anyone else want to comment on that? Yeah, Joseph, go ahead.
For me, I know people who like completely finished their college apps basically like before school even started. So that's always my recommendation to juniors. Like definitely do it. No one actually does it, but like it's like a goal for you to set. For like at least me personally, I procrastinated a lot, so I would really only like look at an application maybe like 3 weeks before. Like I would fill out like the basic like what is your address, what is your name, like that stuff. But like I would at least or like the way I did it was like I read all of the prompts, and like it would just be sitting in the back of my head. So like sometimes when I'd shower, I'd just be like, that's a good like essay idea. But I think like most people spend like anywhere from like 2 maybe like 4. Like I don't think it's healthy to do too much, basically.
All right. Anyone else? Yeah, Archie, go ahead. Oh, Erin, sorry. Erin was first, then Archie, go ahead.
Oh, so sorry.
No.
I was just going to really reinforce what Joseph was saying. Like everyone says start early. And I know, I mean, a lot of this was because we were in quarantine and I was like, well, I'm sitting here for the summer. What else do I have to do? But I applied to a ton of schools. So just really starting early was super beneficial, because then I know that like right before November 1st, I wasn't like super stressed with it. And also like, you're not like, even though it's like your senior year, like you're still going to be taking like some harder classes that are going to require more work. And so I feel like, again, like Holly was saying, just like working on it over the weekends was nice, but it's like not healthy to be like so consumed by college apps. So I think spreading it over a longer period of time and then only having to worry about it for a couple hours a week, like Holly and Joseph were saying, was really helpful.
Go ahead, Archie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything new to add. Just a sample timeline, if this could put things into perspective. for our junior parents. So between the summer of junior and senior year, fill out your basic Common App, all that info. It is surprisingly long. It does ask for your college education, your spouse's college education. And just getting that done is a big sigh of relief, because you don't want to be 11:59 p.m. filling out what is your address when about to submit a college application. And then also over the summer, you want to complete your Common App essay and your coalition application essay. I'm not too familiar with the prompts because it has been a while, but I think they are somewhat different. So nailing those out. And then I think this is where the healthy part comes in, starting early. So for example, if something has, I think Georgia Tech has an October 1st or 15th early action deadline. So maybe starting last week of November on their supplementals, and just pacing yourself, because college applications is like a marathon. The more evenly spread out it is, the more manageable, and the more manageable, the better your essays will turn out.
All right, thank you for that. So we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, and you guys have been answering some awesome questions. Parents, you've been asking some great questions, and our panelists have been answering them. I think I do want us to, if there's no more questions, I have one more question for our panelists to summarize. So I want to pause for a second to see if parents have any questions that they want to have answered.
Let me see.
Yes, I heard someone, please.
Okay, I would like to know if I believe you all are you all living in Maryland area, and how important it's home visit to you. How important that is, or you really don't need to come home at all. You think you just love the campus, and it's near home is not important to you at all.
Yeah, good question. So you guys are all from Maryland. You're going to the University of Maryland. How often do you come home, and how homesick do you get? Who gets to answer that one? Who wants to go? Holly, go.
I remember definitely the first couple weeks of my freshman year. I was definitely very homesick, even though I'm only like a 30-minute drive away, I was still homesick. But then after that, like, it was really fine. And I don't really come home that much, like on weekends, the occasional weekend here and there. But a lot of my friends, it really depends on the person. Because a lot of my friends who are also like in the same area as me and go to the University of Maryland, they'd be home almost every weekend. But for me personally, it was just kind of, maybe 1 or 2 weekends that I would come home. So it's really up to you. And because Maryland is so close to Rockville and, all the surrounding areas, it's really not that bad, if they do want to come home.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It depends on the person. Like, I know some people who go home every weekend. Personally, I think I went home like 1 weekend this semester, maybe 2. And it just depends on the person. But I will say it is very nice being so close. Like, if you forget something, I know I literally moved into like my dorm and forgot a pillow. And so it was like easy to just like drop off a pillow or like buy a new one or whatever. So it's like if you forget stuff, it's easy, but it definitely depends on the person. And it's like really easily accessible to get back home with like all the different buses and stuff. They like run all the way through here, which is really nice. But if you feel independent enough, then like you definitely don't need to come home. So it's just like person to person.
Those pillows are very important, Erin. So I'm with you. That's good that you were able to. I hope you got your own pillow and didn't have to buy some random new one. But Joseph, go ahead.
At least like I think everyone can say that, like, I don't think it does definitely depend on the person, but I think it's like nice to have that it's like so close. Like, I do definitely know people who go home. Like, one of my friends like literally goes home like on Wednesdays, like just in the middle of the week, because they don't have like any classes on Wednesdays or Thursdays. But I think like it's something that you can take advantage of. Like, for example, like my mom needed to bring like a suit to me, and it was only like a 20-minute drive. So it is definitely something that's like nice, but like personally, I haven't gone home like that much.
Joseph, I thought you were gonna be like, I don't miss home. I stay on campus. I was
Oh
waiting
yeah,
for
no,
that
the
response.
only reason why I go back is like it was my mom's birthday, and actually I missed my mom's birthday. It was my brother's birthday. Yeah.
Can't miss your mom's birthday, Joseph.
It was like a week before finals, so I think my mom understands.
Okay, sorry, I'm giving you a hard time in front of all these people. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Archie.
I mean, again, depends person to person, but just to throw some resources out there that you might want to jot down and maybe look up later. UMD bus shuttle 104 will take you to the College Park metro station. So if you live somewhere kind of distant, you can go plug that in and they'll show you all the routes. UMD has a bus that I frequently take. I come home every other weekend. So I take the 141. It drops me off at the Gaithersburg Park and Ride. And so then obviously from there, my mom in her car picks me up, and obviously we go do whatever. But I think it's important that if you're in state, balancing that if you can go home, it has positive effects. You feel more comfortable, you're able to reflect. I think for me, just talking about my first couple weeks to my parents really helped.
Thank you guys all. That was awesome sharing the different experiences with that. Appreciate that. Thank you to the parents. So my last question to all of you guys to summarize, are you ready for this? I want you to share with us maybe a secret about the University of Maryland that you guys just love. Like I'll give you an example. We were known, I'm not going to name my college, but we were known for our waffles, and I loved going into the cafeteria for the waffles. So is there a secret? And I love, Holly, how you mentioned how there's movie nights outdoors, there's arts and crafts. Like that's awesome, right? We talked about a lot of academics and applying and application, but tell us a secret about life on campus that is just awesome to you. And hopefully it's something a little different, but it's okay if it's a common one that you guys all have. So who wants to share a secret about the University of Maryland that's just like awesome about it? Maybe they have waffles too. I don't know. Who wants to go? Karen, go ahead.
I will definitely vouch for Maryland Dining Hall cookies and soft serve ice cream. My friends and I, like, if anytime we're having a bad day, we're just like, let's go get some ice cream from the dining hall. I like always joke with my friends that I hate them because they like introduced me to it. And now I'm like before every football game where I was like, oh, like, let's go stop by the dining hall and get some soft serve ice cream before the football game. So it's always a fun time.
Oh, that's awesome. I remember ice cream too. It's nonstop. It's always available. Oh, awesome. All right. What else? Give us some good stuff. Go ahead. Who's next? Holly, go.
I can go. So one of the things that I really like that University of Maryland has, so there's like a Testudo statue right in front of McKeldin Library. And, you rub the nose for good luck. And during final season, it actually can get pretty crazy because people will just put like offerings in front of it. And I think this year it was ridiculous. Like it's just, there's so much stuff. I think there was a couch. There's been people have taken like an elevator panel. Like it's just random stuff that they put, but it's like so funny to see all that stuff, and it's so much stuff. But it's all like offerings for good luck on finals, which I think is pretty fun.
That is so cool. That reminds me of like ancient, I'm a history guy, ancient Greece, Roman times when they put stuff as offerings to the god. That's very fascinating. That's really cool. All right, what else? Joseph, Archie, what do you got? Erin and Holly, they give us some pretty cool ones there.
So definitely, like, at least from my experience, I live in a hall without AC, and it's definitely an experience. Like you come in the first week, and like at least for me, until like yesterday or like when I moved out, like our fans have been on like nonstop. So that's a great, like, window fans. If you live in like one of the dorms with no AC, a window fan is actually the single greatest investment you'll ever make. The return on that is infinitely great.
That is awesome. Is that an all guys dorm you're in there too with no air
No,
conditioning?
there are like at least I'm on like the first floor, so they don't have any girls on the first or ground floor. But like on the higher floors, there are like mixed genders.
All right, so the window fans, the ones that like actually go in the window, the dual ones, those are the good ones.
Yeah,
Is that what we're
yeah,
talking
I got it from
about?
Costco. It's amazing.
Okay. All right, good to know. I like that. That's a good secret. All right, Archie, they told us a lot of good stuff. Let's hear yours. Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I mean, obviously, I can list out all of the halls that don't have air conditioning. So when you're filling out your housing application, you can say in your special notes, please not XYZ. Obviously, I can fantasize about all the flavors of ice cream that's available. But I guess I'll just start listing out fun facts at this point.
All right.
Fun facts: if you stand at the top of the Capital One Stadium at the University of Maryland, you can see the Washington Monument in DC. Second fun fact is that student government in the University of Maryland is somewhat tiered. So there's two organizations. One is called RHA, which I'm a part of. Another one's called SGA, which obviously we all know from High School Student Government Association. RHA, Resident Hall Association, kind of focuses on the resident halls and offers very good preliminary introduction to student government. And what you can be is like a hall council officer and who coordinates like events that like your hall will put on. So for example, as president of Easton Hall, during Halloween, we had a floor decorating competition. And so, yeah, just getting involved, being eager for resources. More than happy to put my contact info in the chat, and I can definitely find stuff that maybe relates more into what someone is looking for. But yeah, no, definitely stand on the top of this on the stadium, bird's eye view.
Yeah. Did the rest of you guys know what he just said about standing up and seeing you guys all? Okay. All right. That was a new one for me. All right. That's awesome, guys. Those are the things I sometimes forget. We forget to mention, like the cool things we learn. Maybe you knew before you went, or found it out, and it's just the perfect combination of college life. And Erin, I just want to acknowledge your email again to everyone that seems like a lot of the dorms don't have AC, so box fans also are an important necessity. I hope they put that on a list of things you're supposed to bring. I hope that wasn't something you were like surprised and went to the dorm and there was like no air conditioning.
I mean,
they tell you guys about that?
Luckily, when choosing a dorm, you play the game of luck. So thankfully, I got AC in my dorm, but I sacrificed on the fact that I'm in a quad, meaning that there's not only one roommate, not two roommates, but there's three roommates. And so, yeah, just have fun wherever you end up, and know that between semesters that you can switch out and move somewhere else, and that just make the best of a situation. Because us freshmen, we are bottom of the totem pole, so I'm happy with anything.
I think some of us do remember that part of college experience as you start out. But I just want to say that Joseph, Erin, Holly, Archie, you guys were awesome tonight. This was a great experience. I learned a lot myself, so I can see that a lot of the parents asked some great questions about all aspects of your experience at college. Like I said before, this is the favorite night of learning about all of what you've experienced, tying it back to your experiences Wooten. Joseph, I'm still going to throw that. I'm going to write a letter tomorrow to our staff saying Wooten staff are better than professors. I won't quote you, but I'm just going to say this is what I heard. And Mr. Hitchens joined us. Look at that. Hi, Mr. Hitchens. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I had to come in here and just say hi. This is kind of cool for me because I taught all of you all. Hi, nice to see you all. Nice to hear you are doing well. I am also a University of Maryland alum, go Terps. And so I just wanted to pop in because my panel discussion ended a couple minutes ago. So hi, everybody. And it's really nice to see you all.
Oh, Mr. Hitchens, you're not getting away that easy. Now they just added something that they loved about their experience. So what was yours? Was it ice cream? Was it
the
air
dairy
conditioning?
the dairy is pretty good on campus, I got to be honest. And I was also in a dorm that had no air conditioning, and I remember move-in weekend was pretty hot. So I agree totally with everybody's assessment about the importance of box fans, about the deliciousness of ice cream, about standing on the stadium and seeing the monument as well. I was in the College Park Scholars Program. I don't know if anybody's in that program now, but one of the best, that was really kind of made my college experience. I was a member of the Arts Scholars Program. And the cool thing about the Scholars Program, as is, I believe, with the Honors Program and Civicus and all that, is that you get to live with the people that are also in your program. So even to this day, years and years and years and years later, after college, I'm still really, really good friends with a lot of the folks that were in the Art Scholars Program because we lived together freshman year. So that was a lot of fun.
For sharing that, Mr. Hitchens. I will not ask you any further questions. I appreciate that. Parents, I thank you so much for tonight. Joseph, Erin, Holly, and Archie, I wish you well on the rest of your college experience. Joseph, you take it easy. Make sure you stay in your room, play a lot of Xbox, PlayStation, whatever you like doing, and isolate as the doctor has told you. For the rest of you, have a wonderful winter break. I hope you maybe decide to come back next year and share your senior year, Holly, or sophomore years as you guys continue through your college experience. With that, thank you all of you, and I wish you a wonderful evening.